Hello, everybody, and I'm super excited to do today's podcast with the lovely Vic. And today is all about separation and the childcare logistics that can come when you're going through a separation. But before we start, lovely Vic, can you please introduce yourself?
Well, hello, Miss Stacy from the StacyM podcast. Thank you so much for having me. I am Victoria Edmond from Big Hearted Education, and I predominantly support family daycare educators around Australia. However, this message is relevant for all childcare service types, wherever you may send your children. I definitely will be coming from the position of advocating for the children and the educators in this particular episode, because I think it could be a position that maybe parents haven't thought of. I mean, why would you? Because you aren't childcare educators yourself, but it definitely is something that a lot of you who are going through that separation process will be involved in some form of childcare or another, and hopefully this can give you some insight and start to ease the way through a very difficult situation.
Yeah, because it's easy for us to know what we know. And then we sometimes, because we've done it for so long, we kind of forget that others might not know what we know. Like you don't know what you know until you don't know type thing.
Exactly.
And we've had some good chats about this. And I definitely would think it's going to be beneficial for those, or even if you haven't gone through that separation process, what the childcare element of the separation process could look like.
Yeah.
And it's oft like, it should be in the best interest of the child, and that's often forgotten. And I won't get down that rabbit hole, but it's really just making that process. It's got to be easy for you, but it's really got to be easy for your child as well. And I've spoken with the amazing Sharon as well in relation to when your child has additional needs. So that's another aspect of it, which obviously free to comment on that, because additional needs is probably going to look a little bit different to that doesn't have additional needs for the handover and whatever. But we've got a few points to have a chat about today. So the first one is parents and whether they mean to do it or don't mean to do it. Let's assume that, they're not meaning to do it. They'll kind of expect an educator to take sides, and I imagine that would make it pretty uncomfortable. So do you want to just discuss, whether it's from a perspective of the parent knows that they're doing it, or they might not know that they're doing it. Maybe you're the only person that they talk to when, they're venting everything out. So just, I suppose, the disclosure level of what's going on personally and what to maybe communicate or not communicate with your educator at childcare.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, your educator's responsibility is to A, your child, and B, all of the other children that are in care at that particular time. Supervision is one of the biggest areas where there are accidents because educators are not supervising adequately. And that can sometimes be because there's a parent who's having a major download with an educator, and that takes our ratio of educators who can be supervising down by one, which puts pressure and stress on everybody else, because you're not always going to be able to, and depending on the person that you might be venting or downloading to, that person may not have the confidence to say, well, hang on a second, I'm actually responsible for monitoring this gate right now, and I actually can't be talking to you right now. So sometimes what happens is a family will connect with an educator, which is what we encourage, but then that can sometimes feel like there's a friendship there, and those professional lines can sometimes get a little bit blurred, which is really very common when you're working with children, because you want that person to feel like a part of your life. But parents need to remember that that educator is actually there doing a job, and they aren't just responsible for your child, they are responsible for the other children in care at that time. So that is the very first thing that I would be having a conversation with. Now, most of you who will be attending long daycare settings will actually be walking most likely past the director who's sitting at the front desk, or an admin person who's sitting at the front desk on your way in or on your way out in the afternoon or the morning. What I suggest is that you perhaps book a time to speak to that person, because that director or admin person is not responsible for children on the floor at the time. They can also take you into an office if it's available to sit down, and you can tell them, but be factual. Like, the worst thing that happens, and it makes educators and staff sometimes really uncomfortable, is that one parent can sometimes try to make us take sides. And it's understandable in that circumstance. But what parents need to understand, particularly when there's been two parents involved in the service, is that educators treat all families the same. So you don't see the communication and the connection that educators are having with the other parent, because you're not there picking up. So you don't know the relationships that are formed, and they are professional when they come from the educator to the other parent. So it puts educators in a really difficult and untenable position when there's one parent who's trying to get people to take sides with them. And sometimes it's very unconscious, because you're feeling hurt and things may be happening behind closed doors that are legitimately not okay. But bringing that into the childcare centre is not necessarily the right place to be talking about these kinds of things. If it's something that's going to impact the child and the day that that child's going to have, so perhaps one of the parents, there was a big argument, the children were up at night, and you know, very upset, and it was 1 a.m. before they could go to sleep, and you've had to bring the children to care. Absolutely be advising your educators around that, because your children are going to need additional support, emotional, spiritual, physical support during that day at care. So that information is very important to communicate with your educators. Now, educators are going to be, depending on the situation, heavily monitoring your children, because they know there's an emotional upset that's occurring for that child at that particular time. So they do need to know that stuff is happening, but just keep it to the facts without embellishing and going into the story of it. They don't need to know what the argument was about, or that, you know, parent A started it, and or that parent B was slamming doors and, you know, all that kind of stuff. We need to know that the child was up till quite late and will need additional emotional support and will be very, very tired that day. So we are also mandatory reporters. So if you tell us things that happen, we are obligated to report that to the department. So that can work in favour and it can work against. And some people will know that information and utilise it for not good, and others will then also know that information and withhold sharing because they don't want to, you know, have the ramifications of that. So, but just know that when we know that families are going through these kinds of struggles, we do keep our eyes on those children, and we are looking for signs, you know, that they need additional support and when things are going bad. And your educator may raise that with you and say, oh, you know, I've really noticed that little Johnny's really not himself. He's really clingy, or he's acting out. There's some behaviours that I've never noticed in the past. You know, is there anything going on that we need to be aware of? So in saying don't overshare with your educators. There is certainly times where you may feel uncomfortable talking about that because it's a very private event, but your educator cannot provide what your child needs if they don't know what is happening. So there really is a fine line and a fine balance of sharing factual information without going into the story of it.
Yeah, and I get the whole relationship thing. Like, my kids were in like long daycare. I was the first one at the door in the morning, and I was the last one to collect in the afternoon. But you do build that connection with them. Like, I still talk to my girls' daycare teachers, and my youngest is 11. Like, and yeah, it's kind of a similar, like, the family law matter. It's like, yep. And even if you weren't going through a separation, if you drop them off, hey, she had a bad night, probably going to be cranky, heads up, here you go, see you later. Like, I know I had definitely done that, like when I was dropping my kids off. But in relation to the communication, it might be like, hi, like, I'm just letting you know I'm going through a separation. It's early days, we're amicable or we're not amicable, or whatever that situation might be. Little Johnny might be a little bit disrupted because he is going between two houses. So that type of factual stuff, not he's cheated on me, I've kicked him out of the house, he's done this, he's done that. That's the type of information that you probably need to speak to a close family member, a friend, or a counsellor, because that's obviously things that you need to work through from a personal perspective. And it's not like you're trying to be rude or anything. It's like, yep, I can appreciate you're in this situation. I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, if you're one educator and you've got like 5 kids there, I'm not sure what the ratio is, but that's your eyes taken off those kids. So
exactly,
and a urgent duty of care. So
exactly,
can completely get that. Now, what about in relation to, so say they've gone through a settlement and we have orders in relation to the kids, so there's a parenting plan or parenting orders. I would assume you would need a copy of them. So what happens when, maybe first of all, if there's no orders in place, what would be the procedure? And then, we'll go to the next step as when there is a parenting plan or orders in place, what's the procedure with that?
Okay, so when you enroll your child in childcare, you should be providing a birth certificate for that service. Some services don't ask for it, but it definitely should be provided. As well, when you're doing your enrolment forms, you should be putting parent A and parent B, both parents. If you don't know parent B, you're probably not going to be going through a separation. So, but some people will not put the 2 parents on the enrolment form. If somebody can turn up to the service and provide a birth certificate that has their name on it, we have to let the children go with that person because they're on the birth certificate. So
with orders or without orders?
Without orders. If there are orders in place, we need the most up-to-date copy of those orders, and then we can follow through with those orders and refuse collection or, that parent to be able to come into the service within reason. I am not going to put my educators at risk if someone's having a bit of a meltdown. I have to think of, if I'm in a long daycare setting, potentially up to 100 other children and maybe 25 staff. If there's someone who's having a mental moment, I am definitely going to be saying take your child, because that is the path of least resistance, in which case I would be calling the police immediately to say this is what's happened. There's orders in place. Someone so-and-so's breached the orders. I've had to let the child go because it was safer to do that. You need to, and you would be taking the number plate of the car and blah, 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 blah. So all of that stuff, we've got not just your child to consider, but we've got many other children and staff as well. So if there are no orders in place, we have to let that parent, both parents, have access whenever they choose to have access. So I had in the past, I had a parent. Now I knew both parents because both parents had been doing pick up and drop off. And the parent A rang me and said to me, parent B is to have no contact. Parent B has been abusing the child. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's terrible. What's been happening? And parent A told me that when parent B has the child, parent B is taking the child to McDonald's, and that's abusive.
Yeah.
And I had to say, well, maybe it's less than ideal, but I don't think that constitutes abuse. Secondly, do you have orders in place? And she's like, well, no. Parent A is like, no. And then I had to say, well, I can't stop parent B from picking up the child and taking the child and coming and seeing the child or ringing and wanting to talk on the phone to the child. I would use discernment if that happened and it caused major upset. I would use discernment as the educator and be like, oh, they're sleeping, or oh, they're on the toilet, or oh, because I am trying to minimize the disruption to the child in my care at that time.
Yeah.
But if that parent came and wanted to see the child, I would have to let them in, because they could quite easily go to the Department of Education and complain that we withheld access to their child when they have the legal right to their child. I do not have the legal right to say to a parent, no.
Yeah.
So, so if you are wanting to limit access, you need to either speak to your ex-partner and hopefully they can see that what is occurring is causing, upset to the child and they may stop it, or you will need to go through the court process to get orders in place. We cannot stop children from seeing their biological parents.
Yeah, and kids pick up on that vibe as well. Like, even if they're young and you don't think that they're understanding stuff, if you're
they know.
Stressed, if you're cranky, if you're whatever, those kids pick up on that.
They
So
know.
remember
They
that.
know. And they tell us everything.
Yeah, and it's really sad.
My mum
I
said,
would
my daddy did.
just want to cuddle them and say it's okay.
Yeah.
I know that when my kids were at daycare, so obviously that's quite a while ago now, we could put emergency contacts down on the form as well. I'm assuming that's still a thing. So you could have parents or grandparents, siblings or whatever.
Yeah, you have to have emergency contacts. So often when there's been a separation, sometimes a parent will repartner. And one partner may be like, I don't want them to pick my kid, blah, 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 blah. Same goes. We don't put us in that position. Like, sort that out outside of daycare. We don't want parents coming and having Barneys and, being really upset and coming to our desk and like yelling at us and being really forceful. I have no right to see my kid. They're not my blah, 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 blah. So just really think about the impact that those decisions can have, not only on your child, but on the educators and the other children that are coming to that care facility as well, because that can have a really traumatic impact on educators and children alike. If someone comes and yells at the desk or in the play yard, I've had it before. And it's really confronting and really sometimes challenging to diffuse that situation, where we've had to call the police and have people escorted from the premises. And that causes so much drama for us, the amount of paperwork that we've got to do. Not just the paperwork side of it, but the counselling side of it that we've got to provide for our staff and the children and the other families. There's some children that have never seen arguments in their lives.
Yeah.
because there's just a different environment within their home life, and that is terrifying. And for those families, they have every right to make serious complaints about that. And, you've just got to be thinking about not just your family, but think
Yeah.
about the community in which you're involved and the impact that those behaviours can have. So if there's somebody else that could pick up, if you know that your ex-partner is going to have an issue, if there's somebody else that could be an emergency contact, by all means, that would be a better course of action than potentially causing drama. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, it's a super emotional time. Like I always try and tell my clients, react with emotion, and I'm not perfect. I do my best trying to not react with emotion, but you're not diffusing a situation either. So if you're still going through that separation, you're going to be making that legal process harder, and it's going to be more strained, and it's probably going to get more petty and difficult, and your legal costs will probably go up because of that type of communication or lack of communication. I think if there was any real concern, like if there was, DV or something, I agree. I don't think I'd necessarily consider Macca's as like abuse. They can appreciate some people might not want their kids to have it, but if you went to court for that, a judge probably wouldn't care. But
No.
Go see a lawyer. So go get those orders in place. If you have a lawyer, get that lawyer to write a letter up. It's probably still not binding because it's obviously not, it hasn't gone through the courts or anything. But you don't want to upset your child, and especially if like my kids were there for like 4 or 5 years. If you've got like another 4 years left to drop your child off, that's going to be a really awkward situation.
Yeah.
I was going to say something else. I can't remember what it was then. I can't think of it. What was it? Yeah, I don't know. Be nice. That was what I was going to say. But just, I can appreciate it's, very stressful, and, you could be having a bad day as well. The more that you communicate with your ex, I said within reason, if there's DV, then that's a different situation. But there's some parents who they don't have a plan or orders because it's amicable. So in some situations you might be going through a separation, but you might be amicable and you might not have to have orders in relation to the kids. And if you've managed that, then congratulations. But just be really mindful of the people around you. I know that's easier said than done. But there's you don't want to. Would you have a right? So if somebody was coming in here and like yelling at you all the time because you've let little Johnny go with the dad or the new partner or something like that, do you have a right to withhold service and ask them not
Absolutely.
to return?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If I was in a situation where there was a parent that continually came into the space, like I get it. Sometimes things get really heated, and in the moment you might like lose your cool because it's the end of the day and you're trying to pick the children up and blah, 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 and like I've been that mama bear too, where it's like, just get in the car, like I've got no space left,
Get out of the car.
get out of the car. Whatever that may be, like you're human, but if it's a pattern and it's becoming habitual, 1,000,000,000%, I have a duty of care to the other children in care, the other families in care, and my team, and I would cease enrollment immediately.
Yeah, and that
just
would get
say,
out.
don't come back.
Yeah, and that will get out to the other daycares, yeah? Like, that could affect
Not necessarily, but if there's not necessarily. There's no little
small
black
town
book.
maybe, that might be a bit different, but in a city, I suppose you've got more options, I suppose, but
Yeah, in a small town, that probably would. However, I would imagine that if this person's incapable of managing their emotions, that they would be known that way through the region anyway. you know, we it's a really difficult time for parents. It really is, because the children pick up on all of the instability and the animosity, and it really, it damages the children. Like there's no doubt about the separation. It doesn't matter how amicable it is. It's going to have lasting impacts on the children. I'm a child of divorce. My parents divorced when I was 5, you know, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm unpacking now as a 45-year-old that comes from that. And my parents weren't violent or nasty or anything like that. It was a fairly cut and dry, boring divorce, you could say. But the impacts of that are varied and wide, and I think the thing that parents need to continually come back to is this for the highest good of the child?
Yeah.
Like, what I'm doing causing more harm than what it needs to?
Yeah.
And I think what parents in that situation, like from an early childhood educator perspective, someone who's worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of children for nearly 2 decades now, when there's such a massive impact on the family unit and the structure, the best thing you can do is provide stability for the children.
Yeah.
If you pick up your children at 5 p.m. every afternoon and you go home and you play for half an hour, and then you start the bedtime dinner routine, do it the same way, in the same order, every single day. And it might be as boring as batshit for you, but it is going to be the best way to help your children through that process, because what it's going to provide for them is they are going to know what's coming next.
Yeah.
Oh, mummy or daddy picks me up from kindy, and then we go home and we play and we read some books. And then we have dinner, and then we have a bath, and then we go to bed, and it's more book reading. And if I could encourage you to do anything through this process to help your children, please make time to let them unwind from preschool. Because I hear it time and again, oh, did so-and-so sleep during the day? And you're like, yep, they had their 2 hours sleep. No, they're not going to be in bed till 11 or 12 o'clock tonight, and I can't handle that. I want you to really assess your rhythm and the routine that you have when you get home. If you are getting home and then trying to get your kid straight to sleep, and you're giving them a tablet and they're watching TV and all that sort of stuff, that is not switching their brain off. It is not helping them to unwind. It's actually winding them up, and it's not helping them to transition from preschool to home. The best way to do that is to give them connection. You are their main person. They have been away from you. A child who's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 8 to 12 hours is a huge time for that age. If you look at, 8 to 12 hours as a 45-year-old, it's over in the blink of an eye. How long did it take for Santa to come when you were a kid? Forever. Time is completely different, right? So you've been apart. They've been apart from their person for an extended period of time. And quite often what happens is they will see you. The minute they see you, they drop their bundle.
Yeah.
And that is because they've held themselves emotionally and spiritually all day long. And then they see you, you're my safe person. Oh, I'm going to let it all go. And that's because they've held on to that all day. So the best thing,
if you're a 5-day-a-week childcare, you times that by like 5. That's bang, bang, bang.
Huge.
Like it. Yeah.
Your educator is spending more awake hours with your child than you are.
Yeah, we definitely believe that.
The counterbalance to that is intense connection. And I know for some of you, you're going to come home from the end of the day and just probably want to doom scroll on your phone to regulate your own nervous system, I would sit in the car for 10 or 15 minutes before you go in and pick your children up and regulate your nervous system.
Yep.
Like, do that. If you need to run to do that, go for a run for 10, 15, 20 minutes, enough to regulate your nervous system, whatever it is you need to do to show up and be completely and utterly present for your children. Because particularly, and this goes for all parents across the board, but particularly if you're going through a separation, your children and their security is completely shattered. And you need to be the person who is going to provide them the stability and the connection so that they feel a modicum of safety.
Yep.
Now, it's worse if you've got one parent that's playing off on the other and being a total douchebag. Like, it's so unfair and it is absolutely heartbreaking.
Yep.
In that case, you have to double down your efforts. You absolutely have to double down your efforts and give those children massive amounts of connection, time. Read books with your children before bed, because that's going to help them feel connected to you. You may even fall asleep there for a little bit, but it's going to help them feel that sense of safety and security, and it's going to build up that trust that you aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And over time, you continue to do that right up until they leave the nest. Really prioritize that deep seated need for connection that every human being has. And if you can provide that, it doesn't matter if the other parent is being a lily lolly, like, it doesn't matter what. Your children at the end of the day, when they become old enough to look back on that period, are really going to have a deep connection for you, and there's less damage and less repair that you need to do as an adult and a parent.
Yeah. Even that like whole routine thing. I did it from when Lily's just turned 13, my eldest. And I don't know whether I read it, someone told me. I got told a lot of useless shit when I had my first child, and some I kept and some I got rid of and some I modified. But somewhere along the line, I started, so, I'd get her up in the morning. It's like, right, so today is Monday, Tuesday, whatever it is. We're going to get dressed. Mum's going to go out there and we'll have like her cup of tea. And then we're going to go do the grocery. Like, I'd plan out the day and let them know what was happening. I still do that with my kids, and they're 11 and 13. So, okay, right. So I'm going to pick you up from school. And today we've got touch training. So I'll drop you here and like I'll take you here. Like, and they expect that, and they're like 11 and 13. So it's like, oh, right. So today, Mum, and like, yep, okay. So we do this. So,
but what that does is that sets up a chain of communication.
Yeah.
And when you model that as an adult and a parent, it will just be second nature for your children.
Yeah.
So if you sit on your phone, and I see it all the time, I see parents come in to pick their children up. They're on their phone. Like, get off your phone. Get off. It's like, have you ever gone to dinner and there's people sitting on their phone and you're kind of going, well, I thought we were out to dinner together. Aren't we like going to have a conversation? Like, your children are desperate for your attention. Absolutely desperate. Because even though they've been at daycare all day, they may be in a room with 23 other children. Or if they're a baby, they're in a room with potentially 7 other babies and 2 people to meet their needs. Unless you're in family daycare and you've got 1 educator for 4 children, which I'm just going to give a little plug. Family daycare is by far and away the best option for childcare that there is around ever, full stop. It is one person who is there, particularly for children that are going through separations. There is one person there from the minute they're dropped off till the minute they go. It is the same person every single time. When you go to a long daycare, your child can be exposed to upwards of 6 people during the day. They have to transition their trust and attachment and security to potentially 6 other people during the day.
Yeah.
Like, is it any wonder why children struggle?
Yeah.
It's not. And so if things are starting to look a bit pear-shaped for you, please look for family daycare in your area, because that is going to be a level of security that your child's nervous system is going to go, oh. And family daycare educators are regulated under the same regulations, the same laws, the same requirements that we have in long daycare settings. So it's all the same. They get monitored, and it's all there. So, I mean, if anybody has seen that horrific story about the guy that was arrested with hundreds and thousands of images and videos, he operated across Queensland, New South Wales, and internationally in long daycare settings. He groomed not only the children, he groomed all of the staff.
Wow.
And he was so prolific that he was reported twice before the third report was taken seriously. He groomed the police too.
Oh, gosh, wow.
So, and I'm not trying to terrify people, but I'm saying that these people will have access to your children wherever. Like, they are so underhanded at that stuff. So please don't be thinking that, family daycare is not a safe option, because it absolutely is. And you qualify that. You go and you look at their house and you look at the space they run, you look at the program, look at how they interact with the children, and speak to their service provider, and do your due diligence. But if you're looking like things are starting to go pear-shaped, or you think, or even if you're just looking for childcare, absolutely family daycare would be what I would be looking at for my own children. Mine are 23 and 21 now, and I'm still in touch with some of our daycare educators from when my son and daughter were going to kindy 20 years ago. So that's the power of connection, right? And children form bonds because they spend so much time with these educators, and it's really vital that you are aware of who's with your children. But the biggest thing is to provide a stable environment where there's deep connection between you and your children, because they are craving that. And no phones, no devices, just be with your children, because it takes less time when they are filled up. When you can fill them up emotionally, it takes quicker and quicker. It's less and less and less time the more you do it.
Yeah.
So if you need to doom scroll, because that's one way that I use to regulate my nervous system. If I've been working really hard on the computer, I'll go and take a half-hour break and doom scroll, because it just makes me go to have nothing in my brain, right? I use that as a tool, and I totally understand how parents can use that too, but don't do it in front of your kids all day, every day. If your children are annoying you, it's because they need something from you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think we're going to have to do a separate podcast if you haven't done it already on the benefits of family daycare.
Oh, yeah. I can talk all day about that.
For the next one. So there's a few more points. I'm conscious of the time. We're about 40 minutes. But,
okay.
Sometimes in orders, if people don't want to know where people live, or there's issues or whatever, the good old Macca's car park can be a handover spot.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes childcare centres can be the same. Do you have anything to comment on just in relation to the daycare centre being the port of changeover, I suppose, compared to a Macca's or something?
I think that's a really beautiful transition. It can, especially if there is animosity between the two partners or parents, ex-partners. If there's animosity there, just remove it. Remove the chance of seeing each other, right? You can communicate anything you need to communicate via text or phone call, whatever floats your boat, whatever's going to work for you. But drop off in the morning at preschool, and then the other parent can pick up in the afternoon, if that works. Sometimes the timing isn't going to work, but if that works, that's definitely a suitable scenario, and it's an easier transition for the children because it's likely something that happened in the past anyway. Usually parent A would drop off because parent B worked early in the morning and parent B finished before parent A, so parent B would pick up in the afternoon. So that keeps things the same in terms of those transitions that the children need. And children 100% need transitions. They need transition. So if you are going to do a handover, you make sure you tell that child, you're going to daddy's this afternoon, and then you're going to stay with daddy for a couple of days, and mummy's going to miss you, but she's going to have a big rest while you're gone so that she is going to be so ready to play with you when you come home. You're going to have the best time with daddy, and it's going to be so wonderful, and be positive about everything. Because if you're anxious about things, and it's the same when you start childcare, if you're anxious and you don't feel safe doing what you're doing, the children are going to pick up on it. And the children, all you're going to do when you do this, oh, okay, mummy's going to go now, bye, 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 and the child starts to cry, oh, one more kiss, and you pick them up and it's another kiss, okay, mummy's going to go, bye, 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 and then, oh, one more kiss, one more, and it becomes this drawn-out event. All that does is increases your child's anxiety levels. It makes it harder to go. You are better off to just go, suck it up, because this isn't about you, it's about your child. Suck it up, be positive. You're going to have a great time. I'm just going to see you when you get back. Have a beautiful day. I'm going to miss you. See ya. Go. Leave.
Then
go and cry in your car. Go and cry in your car. Like, be all happy and positive, because your child needs you to give that message that what's about to happen is going to be safe. Whether that be at the Macca's car park, or whether that be through a daycare service, or maybe there's a mediator that you do the handover with. Like, however it works, it's no longer about you when it gets to that point. It is absolutely about your children and minimizing the stress and the overwhelm and the upset that your children could feel.
Yeah, and it's setting them up for the day as well. Like, if you wake up and you stub your toe and then your day kind of like just spirals from that, it's similar to them. If your child's starting anxious, cranky, whatever, that's probably going to dictate their day. And if that's happening on a daily basis, like if they're at childcare 5 days a week, because I know mine were, that's you're piling, stuff on top of one another for days and weeks and then months. And then you're going to have more issues down the track trying to deal with that than trying to have that positive outlook at the start. And what you said before of, mummy's going to miss you, but you can have a great time at dad's, or vice versa, mums and mums, you're not biased towards anything. But if you go, oh, so you're going to have to go to your dad's this afternoon. And like if you kind of put the other person down, they're going to pick up on that. And, when they grow older, they're probably going to put 2 and 2 together or whatever. So even if you might not agree or can't stand your ex or whatever it is, to go, hey, like, you're going to have a great time with dad. I think he's going to do this with you, and he'll drop you off here, or I'll pick you up here. And, I love you. Call me if you need me. Like, make that positive. Don't go, oh, okay, well.
Yeah. I can remember being 9 or 10 and my dad sitting me down with his ledger book and saying, see, I paid your mother and now she's asking me for more. Like, I shouldn't have to do this. Yeah. Like, and he was just trying to help me see that he was doing the best he could. But at the same time, what am I as a 8, 9 or 10-year-old supposed to do with that information? It's none of my business. It is absolutely none of my business. And I see parents do it, and they take the magic of childhood away from the children. There's no other way to put it. I was just trying to work out, you can't say that. I am going to say it.
Yep. I like that.
I'm going to say it because
Yep.
you've damaged your children during a divorce. Now, whether it's the best thing, which in some cases it's 100% the best thing for partners to separate, because it's way more toxic to stay there.
Yep.
But in that process, you've 100% damaged your children, right? So you've got to be aware that the things that you do from there matter.
Yep.
Do not share things that your children do not need to know about. I hear it all the time. One parent will absolutely bag the other parent out. Hold the higher ground.
Yep.
I don't care what it costs you, because at that point it's not actually about you. It's about the children. Hold the higher ground. Oh, they said that about me. It's really sad that they, think that kind of thing. You know that I love you, and it doesn't matter what happens. I'm always going to love you. And guess what? I love them too. I really do. And right now they're just hurting. And sometimes, when you and your brother play and he gets angry at you and he'll yell, and he sometimes even, will smash your tower down. That's because he's actually feeling really awful inside. But it's okay. You still can love him. And I still love that person too. I just know that they're really sad right now, and you have to put things into context that children are going to understand. Don't burst their childhood bubble even more. It's really important.
Yeah, I like the magic. I like that. Need to trademark that, I think.
Yeah, magic of childhood.
What else did we have here?
We wanted to talk about CCS too, because sometimes during this process, some families might do week on, week off, and there's
CCS just for those that might know the lingo.
Oh, so childcare
subsidy.
Childcare subsidy, CCS.
It's rebate type thing.
Yeah, it's what the government will pay you depending on what your income is, and you have eligibility hours and all that sort of stuff. You also get 45 days worth of absences a year that they will pay for as well. So what will happen in a service setting sometimes, and it can work really beautifully, is that the two parents, even though they're separated, will apply for CCS and have the enrolment for their child. So they might be week on, or two on, whatever it is.
Each for their child?
They each have their own enrolment, and that enrolment then books, if it's week on, that family, that parent A will have the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and parent B on week 1, parent B will have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, week 2. So that means you're responsible for your own fees. Yep. There's none of this, they went on holidays and I'm having to pay, because my child's gone away on holidays, and that can cause animosity and disruption and disagreement. Sorry?
Yeah. I had that the other week, actually, that, someone was cranky that they had to pay a daycare fee when the other partner had taken them on holidays. I'm like, oh, gosh, is that where we're at?
Well, it can be expensive. It can be expensive. And, if someone's taking them away for 2 weeks and you're still $1,000 out of pocket, it can be unfair. So it really sort of only works if there's a shared agreement.
Yes.
So, and parents might think about that if that's not going to happen and it's not able to happen. When you're putting orders in place, you could potentially ask the court to put that in place, that if that parent takes the child away for 2 weeks, that they are responsible for also paying the childcare fees as well. I don't know how that would float, but that would be something to consider. Definitely. But you can definitely do that. It just requires that both parties go to approach Centrelink separately. Just explain to them that they're a separated couple and you want to have the child registered under you for CCS, childcare benefits or subsidy, so that you can enroll that child yourself. So then there's 2 enrollments, and it's fair and even, and the service will discuss payments and things regarded whenever between the two of you. So you'll get your own invoice that you are responsible for paying and vice versa.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a super good idea, especially if
Mm.
you're someone's transferring a fund to another bank account, if they're, because you're paying half or whatever in the case where, I think it was actually the child was away for like half the afternoon or something, and that was where the issue caused. Well, I'll just pay for a day.
Half an afternoon.
It was something kind of, I'm not trying to sound inconsiderate. It was something a little bit petty. We're like, oh, okay, you can kind of get you like, it's a bit.
Yeah.
And that's what helps, I suppose, if you get the bonus of experienced family law lawyer, or even a lawyer that's a parent, knowing all the extra stuff in relation to the. I don't think I knew about the 2 separate enrollments, so that would be something that would just be nice and clean, I think.
Yes.
And so if payments miss, you're yelling at yourself type thing that was on your week or whatever, and obviously the logistics would be worked out with the childcare centre as relation to who's on what day or what week or anything.
Look, and one parent may be earning significantly more than the other two, and in which case the CCS eligibility will be different depending on what the income is. So if one is only working part-time, then the CCS that's going to be paid to that person is going to be significantly more than someone who's on 150,000. So, and that's fair and equitable.
Yeah. Do you still get the same amount of days? So I know I used to cap out. I was kind of about mid-year. I think I'd cap out in like my payments. Then I was paying like full freight, which was, I think it was around like $800 a tick. Like it was super expensive. If you have the separate enrollments, do you have the days split, or you still have whatever the days are? So you're more likely going to get the full year's worth.
Yeah.
Splitting it because you're not having it every week or whatever.
And you still get the same amount of actually, I'm not 100% sure on the absences. I think the absences might accumulate across both. I don't know. I like, it's not something that we've experienced within our business, someone running out of absences when there's been a separate. So they would just need to chat with Centrelink about that. Whether their absences accumulate for the child or if it's across the different enrollments. So, I
think that's just, I like that idea. I think it's just a cleaner way to do that. That was pretty well everything we had on our list. Is there anything that you would like to finish with? So we've had a pretty good chat about, trying not to make educators, don't make educators pick sides, because it's not going to work for you. In relation to collection of the kids and, with parenting plans and orders and no plans, what can happen. The oversharing side of things can appreciate as, I've probably been there myself. Oh, I'm tired, she was up night or whatever. If you need that support, engage a family friend or a friend or a counsellor or something like that to help you. The handover at childcare could be a good spot. So if you can't stand being with your ex at handover, that could be a really nice option to save for the Macca's car park. How to support the kids through the separation, so the connection, put your phone down, try and stick to the routine and things like that, which you should be doing regardless of whether you're going through a separation, but probably more so if you are. The CCS enrollments, is there anything else that you would like to mention before we close off?
No, I don't. I think we've covered quite a lot of territory this afternoon. I think too, the thing that I would suggest to families that are going through this process is have a safe person for your children too. So that it could be a really close friend or a sibling of yours, the parent, or a grandparent, but somewhere where your children, and these people should have shared values to you, because particularly as your children get older, I obviously work in the early childhood realm, but as your children get older, they're going to need someone they can talk to who is not you, because
Yeah.
at some point or another, you are going to be public enemy number one. And it's like, even for families that are not going through separation, at some point your kid's going to hate you because you are so uncool. Yeah, and you just don't get it. You don't understand me, blah, 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 blah. So what you want to do is set up an auntie or an uncle, quote unquote, and it could be a friend, right?
Yeah.
But they have a shared value system to you, so that when your child actually goes and speaks to them and approaches them, they're going to tell them the same thing you would tell them.
Yeah.
And you actually can trust that that person can hold your child's confidence without telling you everything that's going on for them.
Yeah.
But you have ultimate trust that they are telling your child what you would tell them anyway, and that if anything serious comes apart, that person's going to have the awareness to be able to share that with you and let you know the down low. I would 100,000,000% suggest that that be something every single parent thinks about, because it's that they aren't going to talk to you at some point, but they need someone to talk to. The last thing you want is for them to go to their peers and talk to their peers about stuff, because their peers are just as batshit crazy as what they are at that point. And they don't have the life experience or the skills or the knowledge to be able to give good advice. So you want your children to have a safe place where they can land that isn't you. So that would be something that I would really recommend.
Yeah, I know my girls have that. Like back in the days where I couldn't make certain things at school, it's like, well, I had my school mum with me today because you couldn't make it, or like whatever it is. And they're still close, like to it's like their friends' mums and things like that, which is really good, and definitely encourage. And as you said, like the same values. I know that if they went to a particular person, that I know that she's going to say the same thing I'm going to say, type thing. So. And definitely better advice than Googling something called going to your peers, especially in those teen years. So wonderful.
Terrible idea.
Only just 13, so I'll let you know how it goes.
Well, I'm through that side and I'm through the other side. I was actually a cool mum for a lot of the time because I'm cool.
Well, not embarrassed of me yet, but I'm sure something will happen.
I purposefully embarrassed my children. I purposefully embarrassed my children, and in front of their friends. Like, their friends loved me because they would come here and I would feed them and I would talk to them on the level, I was quite young when I had my children. So, I was 21 when I had my son. So there wasn't that massive an age gap, and I can bro him just as much as he broed me. I mean, it all comes down to your relationships. The best thing that I ever did was jump on my kids in the morning or at night and lick their faces. It was just, they hated it, but they also loved it at the same time.
And they knew that it was coming. It was like a routine that you would go lick their faces like every day.
Yeah. But there's no getting away when your old lady pins you to the bed and is just licking your face. So, it's you have fun. Just, bring some joy and fun to your children too. And tickle monsters are great for the early childhood because it allows connection. But if they say no, stop. But tickle monsters are great because it allows for that joy and that fun and that connection, and it brings the energy up, and then you can, let's get a book, and you bring that energy down again.
It can break the cycle of being cranky or anxious or something as well, because their mind's taken off, being upset or whatever that might be as well. So having that disconnect with, perhaps a not so good mood. But thank you very much for that. I think we definitely have to do like a pro family daycare podcast. We'll have to plan that next one. But thank you so much, Vic, for joining me today. We'll have Vic's details down the bottom, so you can reach out to Vic direct, or even if you're a family daycare person or wants to get into it, Vic is definitely the person that you need to speak to. She is super passionate about all things kids and family daycare. So thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vic.